What would you do if they threw chocolate milk on you at work? If your colleagues filmed it while laughing? If they called you names and made jokes about where you live, just because of the color of your skin? I want to tell you a story today that will make you angry, then shocked, and finally, inspired. It's about a woman named Maya Rodriguez who faced the worst kind of workplace bullying. But what her tormentors didn't know was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. This isn't just another story about workplace drama. This is about justice. This is about how one woman turned the most humiliating day of her career into a revolution that changed thousands of lives. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. So settle in, because what happened on that Friday afternoon in Chicago will restore your faith that good people can win, even when the odds seem impossible. It was the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, and the 42nd floor of the Phoenix Marketing Group building in downtown Chicago felt almost empty. You know how offices get before a long holiday weekend? Most people had already left early, maybe called in sick, or were just going through the motions before the weekend started. But Maya Rodriguez was still there, sitting in the glass-walled conference room, working late as always. At 29 years old, Maya was the kind of person who put her heart into everything she did. She believed in hard work, in earning her place, in proving herself through dedication and talent. For 6 months now, Maya had been the only Latina analyst in an office full of people who looked nothing like her. And from day one, she felt it. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you just don't belong? When conversations stop when you approach. When your ideas get ignored in meetings, only to be repeated by someone else 5 minutes later and suddenly they are brilliant. That was Maya's life at Phoenix Marketing Group. She'd grown up in a working-class family. Her father, Carlos, had worked in a factory for 30 years, sometimes pulling double shifts just to pay for Maya's college textbooks. Her mother cleaned office buildings at night so Maya could have tutoring during the day. They sacrificed everything so their daughter could have opportunities they never had. And Maya? She was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. She had graduated top of her class from the University of Illinois with a degree in data analytics and marketing. She spoke 3 languages fluently. She could spot market trends that others missed and create algorithms that could predict consumer behavior with scary accuracy. But none of that seemed to matter to her colleagues. All they saw was her brown skin and her last name. All they cared about was that she didn't come from their world of private schools and family connections. Have you ever worked somewhere where you felt invisible? Where you had to work twice as hard just to get half the recognition? That was Maya's reality, every single day. She would arrive early and stay late. She would volunteer for the difficult projects that no one else wanted. She would smile politely when people made jokes about her accent, even though she was born in Chicago and spoke perfect English. She would pretend not to notice when conversations switched to talk about expensive vacations and country clubs that she could never afford. Maya thought if she just worked hard enough, if she just proved herself enough, things would get better. She was wrong. Because there were 3 people in that office who had decided from day one that Maya Rodriguez didn't belong there. And they were about to make sure she knew it. Amanda Walsh was the kind of person who had never heard the word no in her life. Tall, blonde, and carrying herself with a confidence that only comes from never having to worry about money. Amanda was the department manager who wore designer clothes and drove a car that cost more than most people make in a year. She had gotten her job not because she was the most qualified, but because her father played golf with the company's vice president. And she made sure everyone knew that connections matter more than competence. Standing next to her was Derek Thompson, 26 years old and desperate to impress. Derek was the account coordinator who spent more time taking selfies than doing actual work. He lived for likes on social media and thought that being cruel made him cool. And then there was Rachel Kim, the HR assistant who was supposed to protect employees from harassment. Instead, she used her position to spread gossip and make life difficult for anyone she didn't like. Rachel was the type who smiled to your face while stabbing you in the back. These 3 had been planning this moment for weeks. They had watched Maya working alone in the conference room, had seen how isolated she was, how few allies she had in the office. The Friday before Memorial Day was perfect, hardly anyone around to witness what they were about to do. Amanda walked into the conference room first, carrying a bottle of chocolate milk she had bought from a vending machine. Maya looked up from her computer, probably thinking Amanda needed something work-related. Maybe she even smiled, trying to be professional despite months of cold shoulders and snide remarks. "Oops," Amanda said with a cruel smile, and dumped the entire bottle over Maya's head. The chocolate milk soaked through Maya's curly black hair, dripping down onto her crisp white blouse and the important reports she had been working on for hours. The sticky, sweet liquid pooled on the conference table and dripped onto the floor. "I thought you needed to refresh those mediocre ideas," Amanda sneered, dropping the empty bottle on Maya's desk with a loud clunk. Derek was already filming with his phone, laughing like this was the funniest thing he had ever seen. "Look, everyone," he shouted, even though there was hardly anyone there to see. "The diversity hire is getting a chocolate milk shower. Can you imagine? Can you imagine sitting there, chocolate milk dripping from your hair, while someone films your humiliation, while they laugh at you like you're not even human?" But Rachel wasn't done. She was typing furiously on her phone, crafting the perfect social media post to share this moment with the world. "When you hire based on quotas instead of talent," she muttered while typing, adding hashtags that were designed to go viral at Maya's expense. Maya sat there, perfectly still. The chocolate milk was dripping from her hair onto the reports she had stayed late to perfect. These were documents for an important investor meeting, work that could have earned the company millions of dollars, work that Maya had poured her heart into. And now it was ruined, just like they wanted. "You know what your problem is, Maya." Amanda leaned in closer, her expensive perfume mixing with the sweet smell of chocolate milk. "You don't know your place. You think you can sit at the same table as us just because you have some little state school degree." The glass walls of the conference room had turned it into a fishbowl of cruelty. A few other employees could see what was happening from the common area. Some looked embarrassed. Most just looked away. Nobody stepped in to help. Have you ever been in a situation like that, where people see something wrong happening, but everyone just watches, where you realize you're truly alone? That's what Maya was experiencing in that moment. Complete isolation. Total humiliation. The kind of moment that breaks people. But something strange happened. Instead of crying, instead of running away, instead of getting angry, Maya just reached for her phone. Derek kept his phone camera rolling, expecting tears. Rachel kept typing, waiting for Maya to break down so she could capture that too. Amanda stood there with her arms crossed, probably feeling proud of herself for putting the diversity hire in her place. But Maya's reaction wasn't what any of them expected. She calmly wiped some chocolate milk from her face with a tissue. She looked at each of them with the kind of composure that should have terrified them. And then she did something that didn't make sense to anyone watching. She typed a single message into her phone. "Going to call your mommy?" Derek sneered, zooming in with his camera. "Or maybe your boyfriend who probably lives in some rundown neighborhood and took 3 buses to get here today." Rachel let out that cruel laugh that some people have when they think they are being clever. "Guys, you're terrible," she said, but she was clearly enjoying every second. "But it's true, right, Maya? It must be hard to keep up that professional act when you're probably struggling to pay rent." They thought they knew Maya's story. They thought they had her all figured out. Poor girl from the wrong side of town, lucky to even have a job, should be grateful for whatever scraps they threw her way. They had no idea who they were really dealing with. Maya looked up from her phone, and for the first time since the chocolate milk incident started, she spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, almost amused. "Go ahead," she said quietly. "You just made the best decision of your lives." Amanda frowned. That wasn't the response she was expecting. Where were the tears? Where was the anger? Where was the broken woman running out of the building in shame? "What are you talking about?" Amanda demanded. "Did the sugar go to your head?" Maya glanced at her wrist, at what looked like an expensive watch, though none of them had ever noticed it before. A Cartier watch that probably cost more than they made in 6 months. But they were too busy seeing what they expected to see to notice details like that. "In exactly 15 minutes, Maya said, her voice carrying a strange certainty, "you'll understand everything." Derek lowered his phone slightly. Something in Maya's tone made him uncomfortable. "What 15 minutes? Are you having some kind of breakdown?" But Rachel, who was always the most observant of the three, started to notice something different about Maya. There was no fear in her eyes. No humiliation. No defeat. Just a calm confidence that didn't make sense for someone who had just been publicly humiliated. "What's happening in 15 minutes? Rachel asked, her voice losing some of its cruel edge. Maya just smiled. Not a broken smile, not a fake smile, but the kind of smile someone has when they know something you don't. When they are holding cards you can't even imagine. "You'll see," she said simply. And that's when they heard it. The soft ding of the private elevator, the one that only executives used, the one that went directly to the 42nd floor without stopping anywhere else. The elevator that none of them had ever been important enough to use. Amanda, Derek, and Rachel all turned to look. The elevator doors were opening, and 3 security guards in crisp uniforms stepped out first. And then, walking behind them like he owned the place, which, as it turned out, he basically did, came a man who made everyone in that office look small. Tall, powerful, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. This man commanded attention the moment he entered the room. He had the kind of presence that made everything else seem to stop. The kind of authority that didn't need to announce itself. His eyes scanned the office until they found Maya, sitting there with chocolate milk still dripping from her hair. And when he saw her condition, something dangerous flickered across his face. "Maya," he said, and his voice carried across the entire floor. It was the voice of someone used to being heard, used to being obeyed. But when he spoke Maya's name, there was something else there. Something that made Amanda, Derek, and Rachel suddenly feel very, very afraid. "Are you okay?" If looks could kill, Amanda Walsh, Derek Thompson, and Rachel Kim would have been buried right there on the 42nd floor. Because the man walking toward Maya Rodriguez wasn't just any executive. He wasn't just some company bigwig who happened to care about employee welfare. This was Sebastian Sterling. Sebastian Sterling, owner of Sterling Industries. Net worth, $7.8 billion. The man whose company held the majority share in Phoenix Marketing Group. The man who, with a single phone call, could buy and sell companies like Phoenix Marketing without even checking his bank account. And he was walking toward Maya like she was the most important person in the world. "Sebastian," Maya said softly, and suddenly everything clicked into place. The expensive watch. The calm confidence. The mysterious countdown. The complete lack of fear in the face of public humiliation. Amanda's face went white. Derek dropped his phone, and it clattered across the marble floor. Rachel's fingers froze over her keyboard as she frantically started Googling Sebastian Sterling and Maya Rodriguez. "What's wrong?" Sebastian said, positioning himself protectively next to Maya, his voice carrying the kind of authority that made grown men nervous. "This is MY office. Sterling Industries owns 60% of Phoenix Marketing Group." The search results on Rachel's phone screen made her stomach drop. Sebastian Sterling married Maya Rodriguez in private ceremony 4 years ago. Sterling Industries CEO Sebastian Sterling and wife Maya spotted at MIT Technology Conference. Power couple keeps private life away from media spotlight. Maya Rodriguez wasn't just some analyst they could push around. She was Maya Rodriguez Sterling. She was married to one of the most powerful men in America. But the story gets even more incredible. Because 4 years earlier, Maya had been a scholarship student at MIT, brilliant but struggling to pay for her textbooks. Sebastian had been there as a guest speaker for a technology conference. What started as a conversation about machine learning algorithms had turned into a love story that defied every social expectation. A billionaire CEO and a girl from a working-class family in Chicago. It shouldn't have worked. But sometimes love doesn't care about bank accounts or zip codes. But why are you working here?" Amanda stammered, her brain trying to process what was happening. "If you're married to him, why are you pretending to be some regular employee?" Maya stood up slowly, chocolate milk still staining her blouse, but her dignity intact. "Because I believe in earning my place, not inheriting it. I wanted to prove my worth without using the Sterling name." For 6 months, Maya had endured their cruelty. 6 months of being treated like she didn't belong. 6 months of having her ideas stolen, her work dismissed, her very presence resented. All while she could have ended their careers with a single phone call. But she hadn't, because Maya Rodriguez Sterling had principles. She believed in justice, not revenge. She believed in earning respect, not demanding it because of who she married. "You thought I was weak because I'm quiet," Maya continued, looking directly at each of her tormentors. "You confused dignity with submission. That was your first mistake." Derek was frantically trying to delete the video from his phone, but it was too late. In the digital age, nothing ever really disappears. You see, Maya said, her voice growing stronger. For the past 6 months, you've been creating a perfect record of workplace harassment. Every cruel email Amanda sent. Every discriminatory joke Derek made. Every time Rachel used her HR position to sabotage my projects. She pulled out a tablet and started scrolling through files. Screenshots of group chats where they mocked her background. Audio recordings of meetings where they dismissed her ideas. Video footage from security cameras showing how differently they treated her compared to other employees. I documented everything. Every slight. Every microaggression. Every moment you made me feel like I didn't belong here. Not because I was planning revenge, but because I wanted to understand the system that allows this kind of behavior to flourish. Amanda, Derek, and Rachel stood there in complete shock. The woman they had tormented, the woman they had just humiliated with chocolate milk, was about to destroy their lives with the evidence of their own cruelty. But Maya wasn't done, because what they didn't know, what nobody in that office knew, was that while they were busy making her life miserable, Maya had been working on something extraordinary. Oh, and one more thing, Maya said, a small smile playing at her lips. While you were wasting time trying to make me feel inferior, I developed a new predictive analytics algorithm. It's worth about $4 to $7 million. And it's patented exclusively in my name. The silence in that room was deafening. 3 people who thought they were so much smarter, so much better, so much more deserving than Maya Rodriguez, were about to learn what real power looked like. Sebastian Sterling looked at his wife with pride and love, then turned to Amanda, Derek, and Rachel with ice-cold fury. You have 30 seconds to start explaining yourselves, he said quietly. And then you have 30 minutes to clear out your desks. But the story was just beginning, because what happened next would change not just their lives, but the entire corporate world. The chocolate milk incident was about to become the catalyst for a revolution that would help thousands of people. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing that ever happened to everyone else. And Maya Rodriguez Sterling was about to prove that justice isn't just about punishment, it's about transformation. You know that moment in movies when the hero reveals they've been 10 steps ahead the entire time? When everything that seemed random suddenly makes perfect sense. That's exactly what happened next in the Phoenix Marketing Group conference room. While Amanda, Derek, and Rachel stood there in complete shock, trying to process that they had just humiliated a billionaire's wife, Maya walked over to her laptop. The same laptop they had seen her working on every day for 6 months. The laptop they thought contained nothing more important than spreadsheets and presentations. They were so very wrong. Let me show you what I've been working on, Maya said, connecting her laptop to the big screen in the conference room. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. But there was steel underneath that gentleness, the kind of quiet strength that comes from knowing you hold all the cards. The first thing that appeared on the screen was a folder labeled Evidence Collection, Phoenix Marketing Group Discrimination Case. Inside were hundreds of files, organized by date, by person, by type of harassment. 6 months, Maya said, clicking through the folders. For 6 months, I've been documenting every single instance of discrimination, harassment, and hostile behavior in this workplace. Amanda's face went from white to green, because there, on the big screen for everyone to see, was an email she had sent to the entire department on Maya's first week. The subject line read, New Diversity Hire, Taking Bets. The email was disgusting. Amanda had written, The new girl started today. I give her 3 weeks before she's crying in the bathroom. Anyone want to bet on how long it takes before she's back to wherever she came from? My money's on 2 weeks maximum. I remember this email, Maya said softly. I got it forwarded to me by mistake when someone hit reply all instead of forward. Imagine being new at a job and finding out your manager was literally betting on your failure. Derek tried to speak up. That was just a joke. We didn't mean a joke. Maya clicked to the next file. It was a screenshot of the group chat Derek had created called Phoenix Elite. The messages were worse than anything you could imagine. Derek had posted photos of Maya eating lunch alone with captions like, Look, the charity case found the cafeteria. And, should we tell her the employee discount doesn't work at designer stores? And worst of all, I wonder if she knows we can all tell she shops at thrift stores. But Maya wasn't done. The next file showed Rachel's abuse of her HR position. There were internal emails where Rachel had deliberately scheduled Maya out of important meetings. Performance reviews where Rachel had downgraded Maya's excellent work. Messages where Rachel had spread rumors about Maya's qualifications being questionable. Rachel, Maya said, her voice getting colder. You used your position in human resources, the department that's supposed to protect employees from harassment, to systematically sabotage my career. You violated every ethical principle of your profession. The evidence kept coming. Audio recordings of meetings where Maya's ideas were dismissed, only to be presented by someone else the very next day. Security camera footage showing how the three of them would literally walk away when Maya approached. Email threads where they mocked her background, her education, even her clothes. Have you ever seen someone's entire world crumble in real time? That's what was happening to Amanda, Derek, and Rachel. Every cruel thing they had done, every harmless joke, every moment of deliberate exclusion. It was all there, documented with the precision of a federal investigation. But the most devastating revelation was yet to come. While you three were busy trying to make my life miserable, Maya said, pulling up another folder, I was working on something that's going to change this industry forever. The screen filled with complex algorithms, data models, and predictive analytics that would make a computer scientist weep with joy. This wasn't just some random project. This was revolutionary technology that could predict market trends with 97% accuracy. Project Phoenix, Maya announced. A predictive marketing analysis system that I developed during my lunch breaks, after hours, and on weekends. While you were creating group chats to mock me, I was creating something that will generate millions of dollars in revenue. Sebastian Sterling stepped forward, his voice filled with pride. The patent is registered exclusively in Maya's name. Sterling Industries has purchased the exclusive rights for $4 to $7 million. Every penny of profit from this technology will go toward something very special. Amanda finally found her voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. 4 to 7 million? But how? Maya smiled, and for the first time since the chocolate milk incident, it was a real smile. Not bitter, not angry, just satisfied. You want to know the ironic part? Every instance of discrimination you put me through actually helped perfect the algorithm. You see, I was developing a system to detect patterns of bias in workplace environments. And you three gave me all the data I needed. The room fell silent except for the sound of Derek's phone hitting the floor. Again. That's impossible, Rachel whispered. You're just an analyst. You don't have that kind of expertise. Maya's smile got wider. Rachel, I have a master's degree in data science from MIT, where I graduated summa cum laude. I published 3 papers on predictive analytics before I was 25. I speak 4 languages fluently. But you never bothered to actually read my resume, did you? You just saw my name and my face and decided I didn't belong. That's when Marcus Chen walked into the conference room. Tall, impeccably dressed, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than most people's cars. Marcus was Sebastian Sterling's head of legal affairs. And the look on his face said that someone was about to have a very bad day. Actually, 3 someones. Ms. Walsh, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Kim, Marcus said, his voice crisp and professional. I have here complete documentation of moral harassment, racial discrimination, and the creation of a hostile work environment under federal statute. He placed thick legal folders in front of each of them. The kind of folders that end careers and start lawsuits. This is ridiculous, Amanda exploded, finally finding her voice. It was just workplace banter. Everyone jokes around. She never complained. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Ms. Walsh, throwing chocolate milk on someone while filming it and posting about diversity showers on social media isn't workplace banter. It's assault with discriminatory intent. That's a federal crime. The blood drained from Derek's face as he realized his funny video was about to become evidence in a criminal case. I have bills to pay, Rachel started crying. I have a family. I can't lose this job. Maya looked at Rachel with something that might have been pity. Rachel, I have a family too. My father worked double shifts in a factory for 30 years so I could go to college. My mother cleaned offices at night so I could have tutoring during the day. They sacrificed everything for my education. And you thought that made me inferior to you? Sebastian stepped forward, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Effective immediately, All three of you are terminated for cause. Your shares in the company are forfeited. Your final paychecks will be reduced by the amount of any bonuses you received while engaging in discriminatory behavior. You can't do that. Derek shouted. We have rights. You did have rights, Marcus replied calmly. You forfeited them when you decided to engage in systematic harassment based on race and national origin. Oh, and Mr. Thompson? That video you took? That's evidence of a hate crime. The FBI will be very interested in it. But Maya held up her hand. Wait, she said, and everyone in the room turned to look at her. I want to make something clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about justice. And justice means making sure this never happens to anyone else. She walked over to the big screen and pulled up a presentation that made everyone in the room gasp. The Maya Rodriguez Fund for Latino Youth in Technology. Initial commitment, $50 million. $50 million. The money will come from several sources, Maya continued, her voice getting stronger with every word. The discrimination settlement that you three will pay. The bonuses that will be reversed due to your misconduct. And my personal donation from the patent sale. Amanda collapsed into a chair. $50 million? That's impossible. What's impossible, Maya replied, is that you thought you could systematically discriminate against someone for 6 months without consequences. What's impossible is that you filmed yourselves committing hate crimes and thought it was funny. Sebastian pulled up the next slide, and the numbers were staggering. Every company that wants to maintain contracts with Sterling Industries will now undergo comprehensive diversity and inclusion audits. Companies that fail these audits will lose their contracts. We're talking about billions of dollars in revenue across hundreds of companies. Derek started hyperventilating. Our careers, they are over, aren't they? Maya looked at him with something that might have been compassion. Derek, your careers were over the moment you decided that cruelty was more important than character. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. The next slide showed something that made Rachel sob out loud. It was a database titled Employment Background Check, Discrimination Violations. All three of their names were listed, along with detailed descriptions of their actions, legal case numbers, and settlement amounts. Every company you apply to will receive a complete dossier on this case, Marcus explained. Good luck explaining in job interviews why you were terminated for documented racism and fired from a major marketing firm for hate crimes. Amanda made one last desperate attempt. Please, she begged, looking directly at Maya. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. We didn't know who you were. If we had known. If you had known I was married to Sebastian. Maya interrupted. So you would have treated me with respect only because of who I married. Not because I'm a human being who deserved basic dignity. The silence that followed was deafening. That's exactly the problem, Maya continued. You didn't see me as a person worthy of respect. You saw me as someone you could step on to make yourselves feel better. And that tells me everything I need to know about your character. 6 months later, the transformation was complete and devastating. At least for Amanda, Derek, and Rachel. Amanda Walsh, the department manager who had thrown chocolate milk on Maya while sneering about her place in the world, couldn't find work anywhere in marketing. She had applied to 43 companies. 43 rejections. Every single potential employer received a detailed report about the Phoenix marketing incident. Her LinkedIn profile, once full of connections and endorsements, became a wasteland. Her expensive apartment? Foreclosed. Her designer car? Repossessed. She ended up moving back in with her parents at age 32, trying to explain to everyone she met why her promising career had imploded so spectacularly. Derek Thompson, who had filmed the humiliation and posted it online thinking it was hilarious, discovered that the internet never forgets. His video became a case study in business schools across the country, not as something funny, but as an example of how quickly workplace harassment can destroy lives. The FBI did indeed investigate him for hate crimes. While he avoided prison time, he was fined heavily and sentenced to community service teaching sensitivity training, the ultimate irony. He ended up working as a delivery driver, ironically delivering food to the same types of offices where he used to work. Rachel Kim faced perhaps the worst consequences of all. As an HR professional, she had violated every ethical principle of her profession. The Society for Human Resource Management stripped her of her certification. She was blacklisted from HR work nationwide. She moved to a small town in rural Illinois, deleted all her social media accounts, and according to sources, spent her days writing apology letters to Maya that were never answered and never would be. But the most poetic justice? Phoenix Marketing Group itself couldn't survive the scandal. When word got out that Sterling Industries had pulled all contracts due to discrimination violations, other major clients followed suit. The company that had once been worth hundreds of millions of dollars filed for bankruptcy within 8 months. The building that had once housed their cruel laughter and systematic harassment was purchased by Sterling Industries and converted into something beautiful. The Maya Rodriguez Institute for Technological Equity. On the day of the grand opening, Maya stood in the same conference room where she had been humiliated. But now, instead of chocolate milk staining her clothes, she wore a stunning navy blue dress as she addressed 50 young Latino students who had received full scholarships to major universities. "This room," she told them, her voice echoing in the space that had once been filled with cruelty, "used to be a place where people tried to make me feel small. Now it's a place where we make dreams bigger." The Maya effect, as it came to be known, spread far beyond one company in Chicago. Maya's story inspired corporate America to take a hard look at its diversity and inclusion practices. Her EquiHire app, the artificial intelligence system she had developed to detect workplace discrimination, was adopted by over 1,200 companies globally. The app generated $180 million in revenue in its first quarter alone. Every single penny went to expanding the scholarship program. Tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Apple formed partnerships to implement Maya's system in their hiring practices. The woman who had been dismissed as a diversity hire was now setting the standard for how companies identify and eliminate bias. But perhaps the most amazing part of the transformation was the scholarship recipients themselves. Young people like Maria Santos, who grew up in the same neighborhood as Maya and was now studying computer science at MIT. Like Carlos Mendoza, whose parents were farm workers and who was now developing apps to help immigrant communities navigate legal systems. Like Isabella Rodriguez, no relation to Maya, but the name felt right, who was creating technology to bring internet access to underserved rural communities. 347 students in the first year alone, each one representing a dream that almost didn't come true, funded by the consequences of 3 people's cruelty. The Metropolitan Opera House in Chicago had never hosted an event quite like this one. The premiere of the documentary Code Maya, How Corporate Racism Created a Revolution, drew an audience that included Fortune 500 CEOs, civil rights activists, technology leaders, and most importantly, the scholarship recipients whose lives had been changed by Maya's courage. Maya Rodriguez Sterling took the stage to thunderous applause, wearing an elegant black dress, not to impress anyone, but because she could now choose what to wear without judgment, without having to prove she belonged. "When they threw chocolate milk on me," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the historic theater, "they thought they were putting me in my place. They didn't realize they were planting the seed of a revolution." In the audience, cameras captured emotional faces. There was Carlos Rodriguez, Maya's father, the retired factory worker who had worked double shifts so his daughter could have tutoring. There was Isabella, age 16, from the south side of Chicago, who would be starting at Stanford in the fall thanks to a Maya Rodriguez scholarship. There was Tom Wilson, the IT colleague who had defended Maya that day and was now running the technology diversity division at Sterling Industries. The documentary revealed shocking details that hadn't been public before. Amanda had actually tried to sue Maya for defamation and emotional distress, claiming the evidence had been obtained illegally. Her lawyers dropped the case within a week when they saw the overwhelming documentation. Derek had attempted to crowdfund his legal fees, claiming he was a victim of reverse discrimination. The crowdfunding campaign raised exactly $4 to $7. Rachel had written a blog post titled, "How I Became the Target of Cancel Culture," that received so much backlash she deleted it within hours. But the most emotional moment came when Maya announced something that shocked everyone in the theater. "Today, I'm proud to announce that the Maya Rodriguez Fund has reached a milestone I never imagined when this journey began. We have now provided full scholarships to 1,000 young Latino students pursuing careers in technology." 1,000. In just 18 months since the chocolate milk incident, Maya had turned her humiliation into opportunities for 1,000 young people who might never have had the chance to pursue their dreams. The Nobel Committee apparently agreed that this achievement was extraordinary. Maya became the first Latina to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for Innovation in Social Justice Technology. When her father, Carlos, accepted the trophy on her behalf, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. "My daughter always been brilliant," he said in his accented English, his voice breaking with emotion. But they only saw her skin color. Now the whole world sees her heart. During the acceptance speech, Maya shared wisdom that would be quoted in business schools and boardrooms for years to come. "People ask me if this was revenge. I tell them it was justice. Revenge destroys the person who carries it. Justice builds something better for everyone. I turned every drop of that chocolate milk into fuel to change a system that was broken. Because the greatest victory isn't defeating the people who hurt you, it's making sure they can never hurt anyone else the same way." The applause lasted for 7 minutes. 7 full minutes of people standing, clapping, crying, and celebrating not just Maya's achievement, but what it represented for everyone who had ever felt like they didn't belong. As I finish telling you this story, I want you to think about something. 3 people woke up on that Friday morning in May thinking they were going to have some fun at the expense of someone they considered beneath them. They went to bed that night having funded a revolution that would help thousands of people they would never meet. Amanda Walsh thought she was powerful because she came from money and had connections. She ended up losing everything because she confused privilege with worth. Derek Thompson thought he was clever because he could make viral videos mocking others. He ended up becoming a cautionary tale studied in universities across the country. Rachel Kim thought she was protected because she worked in HR and understood the system. She ended up being destroyed by the very system she thought she could manipulate. But Maya Rodriguez Sterling? She turned the worst day of her professional life into the catalyst for changing corporate America forever. She proved that sometimes the most powerful response to hatred isn't hatred in return. It's love. Love for the people who will come after you. Love for justice. Love for the possibility that tomorrow can be better than today. The Maya Rodriguez Institute has now expanded to 12 cities. The EquiHire app is used by companies in 37 countries. The scholarship program has helped over 3,000 students and counting. And it all started because 3 people thought it would be funny to throw chocolate milk on someone they considered inferior. Maya often says in her speeches, they thought they were watering weeds. They were actually watering a garden. So here's my question for you. Have you ever witnessed injustice and stayed silent? Have you ever had the chance to stand up for someone and chosen not to? Have you ever judged someone based on what you saw on the surface instead of taking the time to understand who they really were? Maya's story reminds us that every person deserves dignity. Every individual has worth that goes beyond their paycheck, their address, or their last name. And sometimes, the person you think has the least power is actually the one who can change everything. The chocolate milk dried up in a few hours. But the revolution Maya started? That's going to last forever. If this story moved you, if it made you think about how you treat others, if it inspired you to stand up against injustice when you see it, then Maya's mission is working. Because the greatest revenge isn't destroying the people who hurt you, it's creating a world where they can't hurt anyone else. Remember Maya Rodriguez Sterling's name. Remember that she turned humiliation into hope, pain into purpose, and discrimination into determination. Remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do when someone tries to make you small is to use their hatred as fuel to become bigger than they ever imagined possible. And remember this. In a world that can sometimes be cruel, be like Maya. Turn injustice into justice. Turn pain into progress. Turn your struggles into someone else's stepping stones. Because that's how revolutions really start. Not with violence, not with hatred, but with one person refusing to accept that things have to stay the way they are. Maya Rodriguez Sterling proved that the best revenge is a life well lived and a world made better. And that, my friends, is a lesson worth sharing.